Good evening. I'm Karen Pence.
And I'm Charlotte Pence.
And this is Marlon Bundo Pence. And we are so glad that you joined us tonight for our live signing. It's very exciting for us. We had a lot of fun doing this book. And if you haven't yet signed in to buy a book, you can go to marlinbundobook.com. And there is really, it's the only way that you can get a signed book right now if you won't be able to join us at one of our live signings. So right now, we're going to have a lot of fun signing books and just tell you a little bit about why we did this book and how it got started and why Marlin is our star of this book. So I don't know, Charlotte, you want to kind of tell them how you got Marlin?
Yeah, so the book really, we call him the star of the book because Marlon really is the star of the book, and he completely kind of instigated it. We started an Instagram account for him right after the inauguration because when we brought him to D.C., he just became kind of famous, partially because of his name, partially because we had a bunny that was going to live in the Naval Observatory. And so we just decided that we needed to write a book about him at some point. And since I'm a writer and I love children's books, I wanted to write one. And my mom is an amazing illustrator as well. So we thought it would just be really fun for us to have a mother-daughter book with Marlon in it. And we also wanted to educate kids and adults about the role of the vice president and the official duties that he or she has. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Charlotte, why don't you tell us how Marlon got his name? You know, that seems to be the thing people ask us the most. Hello, Marlon. Hello, sweetie. They want to know, you know, how did he get this name? And so it's really a cute little story.
Yeah, so I got Marlon in college. When I was a freshman, at the end of my freshman year, I was studying film, and so I wrote a short film, and we decided to make it into a movie. So Marlon became sort of the star of the movie, sort of a co-star, and I was looking for a bunny, and the script had a bunny in it, and we thought, okay, it has to be a bunny, and a lot of people told me do it with a cat or a turtle or something that was easier to get, and I thought I really needed a bunny, so went out to Craigslist and ended up finding Marlon, and I asked the owner how much he cost, and they told me to make him an offer. And so that became kind of a Godfather joke with my friends to make him an offer he couldn't refuse. And so we ended up naming him after the actor Marlon Brando in the Godfather movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of did the pun on Marlon Bundo.
Exactly.
But and if you don't have your book yet, you can go to marlinbundobook.com and click on the link to get your book signed. It's kind of fun because Marlon is very, very tame. A lot of people have bunnies, and Marlon seems to know that he's a star. He posed for all of the pictures in the book. So for every illustration that I did, I was doing it from a photograph of Marlon. And he just seemed to know, especially the cover is kind of fun if you look at it because it's almost like he knew, okay, I need to, show my best side here.
Yeah.
And he sat and posed for quite a while.
And he's sitting right now.
He's sitting right now.
He's just hanging out.
He kind of seems to know that he's a star, and people say that to us all the time. They're like, well, does he know what's going on? Well, he's a bunny, so he probably doesn't. But we like to think that he does. And he's just a lot of fun. He really is. He hops around the Naval Observatory, and he hops back in his cage when he wants to, and really, when you had him at college, he really would just follow her around. And so we thought it would be a lot of fun for him to kind of tell the story about what the vice president does. So Charlotte wrote the book.
Yeah, and the Instagram account has been really fun, too. And we got the Instagram account right away because I thought, well, we kind of wanted to get the handle of his name, Marlon Bundo. So we thought, okay, if we get that, and, I think it was taken on Twitter, and so we got it, and it just kind of became really popular just because of a lot of people watching and people that aren't. just got really excited about Marlin just because I think he has such a personality, and I think it comes across a lot in the pictures. Like my mom was saying, he does pose a lot. There's a little video we even put up of him trying to open the book, and people asked me, you know, how he's moving around. How did you get him to do that? And we didn't do anything. We just put it down, and he just started opening.
Just did it, yeah.
Marlon, trying to get
open
it.
A book here?
Yeah,
Want to look at one of the books
go
here?
for it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. What do you think?
No, he's
Yeah.
he's chewing on it.
What do you think?
So
Huh?
whoever gets that book,
Yeah. If you have bunny teeth marks in your book, that you got
It's
the
real.
special book. Yeah.
they are real
What do you
bunny
think,
teeth
huh?
marks.
You like the book? You like your book?
Yeah, so it's fun. So Marlon is going to be on a couple TV shows with us this week, and he's going to be traveling a bit with us. We're not taking him to every event because we don't want to stress him out too much with too many people. But he will be on live television. This is his first live debut. Hi. So yeah.
But he is cute the way he poses. He poses for pictures, and you know, Charlotte is the one who writes all of everything, you know, on the Instagram account, and I take a lot of the pictures if I can. She takes a lot of them though too. When she's with Marlin, she'll take
Yeah.
a whole bunch and go back to those. Hey, what do you think? You gonna dig a little hole
Taking a
there?
bit.
Huh? Oh, I don't think we might need the iPad. No, don't think so.
Get you on the books, not the iPad.
But again, if you don't have your book yet, it's marlinbundobook.com. Yeah, marlinbundobook.com. Yeah, do you have your book yet, Marlin? Do you?
He has
Huh?
quite a few. Yeah, and we've
Yeah,
kind of
say
always
hi.
grown up with a lot of pets. Pets are a big thing in our family. We had a couple bunnies when I was a kid too.
We did.
That's always been something that we really think is special to kind of have little furry family members. The book is dedicated to our family, but also to furry family members around the world, because Marlin is to thank for this book because
Yeah.
he is the star.
Yeah, you're the star, buddy. Okay, so we're going to let our little star go get a drink of water.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Good one.
There you go.
All right.
We're going to get to signing the books, so
And as we sign, we're going to answer questions that you guys are submitting. So, again, you can go to marlinbundobook.com to order a signed copy of the book. And it's really the only way to do it, to get a signed copy if you can't come to an event. And you can also submit a question that we will try to answer.
yeah, I'm
So,
going to
yeah.
answer some of the questions.
All right, cool. Do you want to start?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
go for it.
So, Dr. Charles from Florida asked, why did the two of you decide to do this project as a twosome?
Well, I'm going to have to ask Charlotte to answer that because she really wrote the book. She wrote the story and then showed it to me.
I think it was always going to be the two of us, honestly. I didn't really think of it without having my mom do the illustrations because it just made a lot of sense. I mean, my mom is an illustrator, obviously. She's been a watercolor artist my entire life. You had a business for it for a while. She was an art teacher for years. She was my art teacher. I'm not as good at drawing as she is. But it was always really going to be a project that the both of us did together, I think, just because it just made a lot of sense because I thought writing about Marlin would be fun. And then, I don't know, you're such a good illustrator.
We had a lot of fun doing it as a team. Okay, let's see.
Next book.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, Cora from Maryland asked about Marlin. She said, "Hi, I was wondering if you ever considered getting a bunny friend for Marlin."
We haven't thought about getting a bunny friend for Marlin,
Maybe
actually.
we should.
Because we do have two other pets. We have
have a
a
lot of
dog and a
pets.
cat, and so we don't really want it really to become, a zoo. But Marlin does like to kind of hop around, though, and the other two are very interested. Hazel is our cat, and she'll sit on top of his cage and kind of put her paw in and kind of touch him, and our dog Harley will sit right next to his cage, and so they're kind of a cute little threesome. But three is probably enough.
For now, yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people have multiple bunnies, and I think they are really social, so I don't know, Marlon. We'll have to ask him if he wants a friend. Okay, Cynthia from New Jersey said, how did you decide that Marlin would be the lead character in this book versus humans? That's a good question. I think that one really was more because, I mean, it kind of started with Marlin. It was always going to be a book about Marlin. So when we decided to do a book, we knew it was going to be with Marlin. And we didn't know it was necessarily going to be a day in the life of the vice president.
That's right, yeah.
For a while, we thought about some other ideas, some other adventures he could go on and just have a children's book about him. But then I think really when we started thinking about it, it made most sense to do it about the role of the vice president too.
Yeah, I remember you kind of started, it was going to maybe even be like a chapter book kind of thing, like a whole book about Marlon Bundo. But, but this just seemed to make more sense.
Yeah, Marlon's a star. It started with him.
He kind of dictated the book, yeah.
Has Marlon had, okay, sorry, this is Timothy from Arkansas. Has Marlon had the chance to run around the White House?
No, he hasn't. We haven't taken Marlon over to the White House. We would pose him in positions that I knew I was going to place in situations at the White House when you see him going around with the vice president. But he has never actually been inside the White House. The one event that he did before we got this idea was at what's called if you read the book, you'll find out about the EEOB, and that is the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, which is kind of an extension of the White House. And so anyone who works in that building actually can say, I work at the White House, and that's kind of an extension office building next to the White House. So that's where Marlon has been if you saw him in any of those pictures.
Yeah, so Marlon goes to the White House in the book, but he has not been to the White House yet. Let's see. Robert from Texas asked, does your cat get along with your pet rabbit? We kind of answered that a little bit.
Yes, Hazel does. Yeah, she does.
She does. We have some pictures on his Instagram account of her like sitting on top of the cage and stuff. Yeah, she seems to like him.
And sometimes we'll get them together to pose for some pictures. I think you did that one where she was kind of like right behind him or something.
Yeah. It looks like she's about to attack him, but she's not really about to attack him. No. My sister asked me about that one. She said, was Hazel about to jump on Marlon? I said, no, she just looks like that. So we kind of made it a fun little picture. But they hang out together, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Tricia, sorry if I said that wrong, from Tennessee said, does VP Pence actually like rabbits, and does he ever hold Marlin?
He loves Marlin. He loves Marlin. And if he'll be sitting like at the breakfast table in the morning reading his paper, Marlin will come up and start nibbling on his socks. They really are buddies. He really does like him.
Yeah, and he does hold him.
He does hold him. Yep.
Yeah, he so in the book there's also a little scene of them it says Marlin tugs on his shoe. So that was actually kind of based on the fact that Marlin does go up and nudges you on your feet sometimes.
He does.
So cute. Okay, Patty from Massachusetts said, what's it like to have a famous bunny?
What is it like, Charlotte?
It's really fun. It's fun. It's been a fun way, running the Instagram account has been a fun way to kind of stay in touch with my family also back in DC because I live in LA. And so I moved out to LA when this was all happening and when we were starting to really finalize the book and to kind of get it out there. And so we were, really pushing the Instagram pictures. And so he also has a YouTube channel now and a Facebook page. And so that's been really fun too because it's been a way to kind of stay in touch with you, I think.
But sometimes we forget how famous Marlin is. We were in a foreign country, and I was talking to some little children at an embassy, and a little girl came up to me and said, "How's Marlon Bundo doing?" And I was pretty surprised that she knew about Marlon Bundo, but we found more and more people will, we were at the St. Patrick's Day parade, and the mayor's daughter said, we're all big Marlon Bundo fans here. And it's just surprising to kind of know how far and wide Marlin's reach is. So it's a little bit funny to think how famous he's become.
Yeah, definitely. It's been really
and
fun
yet
to
we
see.
can understand because he kind of has this amazing little personality.
He's adorable.
He is adorable.
How could you not love him? Okay, James from Arlington, Virginia, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
Says, "What's Marlon Bundo's favorite snack?" So we feed Marlin hay a lot, Timothy hay, which is really good for bunnies. It has fiber, and so he really likes that. We don't like to give him too much of it, but it's good. It's good for them to have in their diet. Also, Marlin really likes cilantro. I don't know why. I fed him some real, sometimes I feed him real veggies and fruits, and he just loves cilantro. I mean, sometimes I would just get it for him at the store and give him a little snack. Who knows? Who knew? I don't know. Let's see. There's another question like that one. Barbara from Texas asked, where did the idea for the book come from, for the subject of the book? We kind of answered that one, but that was really, I remember us sitting on the couch one day just kind of talking through what the first book should be. And that was kind of, it just made sense to do it about the vice presidency, to kind of introduce him.
I think the reason was too because we, like Charlotte even said, there are a lot of things that were new to her about the vice presidency. Kind of just little things like where the vice president lives. So the vice president lives in a home on the Naval Observatory, and every vice president since Mondale was the first one to actually live in the house, but every vice president's family has lived there since him. And so little things like that where, we didn't necessarily know that fact until we were going to actually be the vice president's family. Yeah. And so there are little things like that I think we thought, other people might be interested to know, because a lot of people would say to us, well, where do you live? Do you live at the White House? Well, we don't live at the White House. The president lives at the White House, and the vice president lives at the Naval Observatory. Other roles of the vice president, like a lot of children especially might not know that the vice president is the president of the Senate. So he actually does go in and vote. Someone asked me just this week on an interview, is he in the Senate every day, and does he vote all the time? And he doesn't. He actually comes in for tie-breaking votes. So, but that's something that we didn't even necessarily know a lot about until we were in this role. So I think the more Charlotte thought about that, she thought, there's some interesting facts here that we could kind of weave into his day and have Marlin go with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Trisha from Pennsylvania asked, how old is Marlin, and is he an indoor rabbit? So Marlin is at least 5, because I got him in 2013. So he's at least 5. He was probably I think he was less than a year old when I got him. So yeah, and he is an indoor rabbit. We've taken him outside a couple times. In college, I had a little leash for him and a little harness, and we would take him to the quad. But we haven't done that in a while. But he's an indoor rabbit, yeah, and he hops around our living room a lot. We let him out and let him get a lot of exercise, so he's not just in his cage. But he's an indoor rabbit, yeah.
But if you have a pet rabbit, rabbits like to go out. Most of the time he likes to come out of his cage in the morning or in the evening, just like rabbits do in the wild. So they like to come out at dawn and they like to come out at dusk. And if you don't have your book yet, you want to go to marlinbundobook.com. We'd love to sign a book for you today.
All right. This one is from Misty from California. That's kind of for you, Mom. It's about art therapy. What colors tend to be considered calming colors in art therapy?
You know, that's a great question. And where's that from?
California.
California. Thanks for asking that question because what you may want to know is that Charlotte and I have both decided to give part of the proceeds to our favorite charities. And my favorite charity, I have two. One is Tracy's Kids, which is an art therapy program for children with cancer. And the other one is Riley Children's Hospital in Indianapolis and the art therapy program there. And so I learned, you know, several years ago that art therapy is an amazing profession. Art therapists actually are master's or doctorate level trained. I'm not an art therapist, but when I see the healing power of art therapy with our vets and especially with our children in hospitals, it's a beautiful thing to observe. And so I've asked that question before myself. And it's interesting, you know, for some people, you might think like blue is a calming color, but that might not be that way for everybody. And I think sometimes it goes back to colors that were important maybe in your childhood. I had one woman actually just recently that I talked to, and when she started with art therapy, they actually kind of started to do things with colors, like the art therapist said, put down the colors that are happy colors for you. And she found that she was doing oranges and yellows. And those colors surfaced again later, and she recognized it. And she said, wow, I'm using my happy future colors in this painting. And it was kind of significant for her, but for her, it was yellow and orange. For me, it probably would be blue. But everybody, I think it's kind of different for everybody. Some art therapists have told me they don't like to necessarily say, oh, because they chose yellow, that's a happy color. Colors do play a part in it, but I think it tends to be different for everybody. It's more about when they start an art project and the feelings start to surface, they're able to kind of then start to talk through some of the issues. And it's an amazing, amazing process. Charlotte, I don't know if you want to talk about your charity.
So I'm also donating a portion of the proceeds of the book to charity. I'm donating to A21, which is an organization that works to fight human trafficking. So they're an amazing organization. Definitely check them out. They do a lot of things. They actually they fight human trafficking by literally funding people to go and actually find human traffickers in lots of countries all over the world. They also spread awareness about human trafficking, and they also help survivors of human trafficking. So they do all of that, and they have offices in countries all over the world. I think 12 or 13 countries, and they have 2 offices in the U.S., in North Carolina and California. So I know their organization well, so I'll be donating a portion of the proceeds from the book to that as well. I'm also wearing jewelry from Purpose Jewelry, which my mom gave me today, literally. That is an organization that makes jewelry, but the people who make it are survivors of human trafficking. And their stuff is awesome, and I think it's just a great organization, a great cause to spread awareness about, because it's a problem in the U.S. as well, and a lot of people don't think of that. It's all over the world, so and it happens in all kinds of ways. So you can go on my Instagram, or you can go on A21, or look them up. They have lots of resources for that. So that's been a really cool thing we've been able to do through this book as well. Okay. Next question is from Elaine and Joe in Washington, Indiana. What do you miss most about Indiana?
Well, Indiana will just always be home to us.
Yeah.
I think it's just there's just something about when you're home and everything is familiar and you know where everything is, and you drive by a building and say, oh, I remember when I was 12 and I used to go in there with my friend and buy candy, and or just places that have had a lot of meaning for us. A lot of our family lives in Indiana, and so it's tough not to have family with us in Washington, D.C., so that's what I miss. I don't know, what about you, Shar?
Yeah. I mean, I really like the Midwest. Just I like, I don't know, just how open it is. I mean, I've been really blessed to live in a lot of different cities, and so, I mean, I've loved something and missed something about all the places that we've lived. But yeah, I would say that Indiana was just always home, and I felt like we kind of grew up there. We were back there all the time as kids, and so we had a house there as well. So I think, yeah, just family and the fact that the Midwest is kind of has a home feeling for me.
Of course, I did hear you say today that you would love to live in New York, and you live in LA now, and so I think you're pretty happy wherever you live.
Yeah. I'll find the places that I love about any city probably. Okay, Donna from Pennsylvania asked, how long did it take to write and illustrate this wonderful book? Thank you.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think that the illustrations took me about 4 months, and I think we kind of collaborated on this. This might be a fun time to talk about this. So Charlotte wrote the story, and there might be a few stanzas in there that we took out. We started working with the editor, but as she and I talked about, like a stanza, like for example, there's one, the vice president has a balcony in his ceremonial office, which is across the street from the White House in that Eisenhower Executive Office building we were talking about. And when you stand on the balcony and you look out at the city of Washington, the thing that stands out the most is the Washington Monument, which is a very tall monument. But when Charlotte wrote the book, she said the Jefferson Memorial. So I was able to kind of say, can we switch this a little bit, because the pictures that I'm taking from the balcony really show the Washington Monument, and Marlin is out on the balcony kind of peeking out as well. So there were little things like that we collaborated on. But for me, it was 4 months of working, a lot on the watercolors.
Yeah, I would think probably start to finish. I mean, I had a couple other ideas going a little bit before we really decided to go with the role of the vice president. So I would say a couple months as well, because also then I kind of went back and forth with our editor and kind of figured out the best flow to the book. And my mom and I, like she said, we were working on it together a lot, because normally you don't work necessarily with your illustrator while you're writing the book with a children's book, but since we were writing it together, it made it a little bit easier for me and for her to kind of know what each scene would be, and then each stanza was kind of decided based on that. But for the most part, I would say a couple months maybe. Yeah, I would say probably about 3 or 4 months total. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too.
The next question is from Juanita in Wisconsin. Thank you for supporting military families. You're welcome. Thank you for your service. Will Marlin continue to explain what happens in the day of the life of the president, first lady, second lady, etc.? I think that it would be a great teaching tool for my grandchildren. Thank you, Juanita.
Well, actually, I don't know. That's a great idea, though, actually. We don't have any books like that right now planned, but it is kind of interesting, though, because people ask me a lot of times, what's the role of the second lady? And it's really kind of whatever the second lady makes it. Every second lady has kind of made it her own. And, it is a volunteer position, and so there have been second ladies who had jobs and careers, and so they kept doing their career part-time and then were able to do a lot of things as second ladies. So there's really no set role for the second lady. So it might be a little harder to write a book about the second lady's role because it would be different with each second lady. But that's a very interesting suggestion.
Yeah, and that's part of this book too, was that we wanted to get the roles of every vice president in it to educate people, but then it's personal to my dad too, and what he does on a daily basis, and how he interacts with people, and like what his habits are. So it's a little bit specific to him as well.
But there are some facts in there. In the back of the book, we have kind of some facts about the vice presidency, and there are some facts in there about some other vice presidents as well.
Yeah. Okay, Sunshine from California asked, what animals have you had in the past, and which animal have you always wanted to have? Oh, that's easy. That's the easy one. So the animal I've always wanted to have, and we probably all have always wanted to have, is a horse, for sure. We love horses. We ride horses whenever we can. My dad loves horses. My entire family really loves horses. Yeah, would love to have a horse.
But we've had a lot of pets.
Yeah.
When the vice president was running for Congress, we knew that our son then was in third grade, and we knew that for him, it would be tough, win or lose, because winning would mean we moved to Washington, and he wouldn't see his friends. He wouldn't be in school with his friends as much, except when we come home. But we knew if we lost, he would be disappointed because we lost as well. And so we decided he had a pet that he really, really wanted. He really wanted a bearded dragon. And so the first day that we moved to Washington, I went out with him, and we drove all over Washington, and we finally found a bearded dragon. He named him Gollum, but we called him Bob, and we had Bob for about 7 years, and he was a very special pet. Charlotte also had hamsters.
Gerbils, yeah.
Gerbils.
And hamsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were
Henry and
always...
Lucy.
Henry and Lucy, yes. They had a lot of baby gerbils, actually, that we ended up taking to pet stores. We were always those kids that, brought the pet home from school. Like, we had anoles and hermit crabs and fish. And
Yeah, the whole thing.
It's still a zoo, really.
But when I was a second grade teacher, I would tell parents that it's a great thing to give your kids some type of pet, because then that responsibility can be the child's, and it can be something that, and if you want something that's a little easier, not necessarily a dog that requires a lot of care, but maybe a guinea pig, something that's in a cage that's a little bit easier to take care of. It really does teach kids responsibility, and so that's one of the reasons why we did it. And then we just ended up having these adorable pets that we all fell in love with.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa from Michigan asked, what surprised you most about writing a children's book? Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this surprised me, but just making it being able to make it apply to adults and kids, I thought was really important, because my favorite kinds of movies and books and TV shows are those that have kid themes, and maybe they're made for kids, but they also apply to adults, and they have a lot of like deeper messages. So I think that's something I wanted to get across in this book. And something I didn't know before we wrote the book was the aspect of including resources in the back. So at the back of the book, there are a couple pages of educational resources and tools for parents and teachers to use, that anything we talk about in the book, like the EEOB or the White House or the Naval Observatory, since those are all real historical things, we wanted a couple paragraphs at the back of the book to kind of help teachers and parents explain to kids the actual facts behind those places. And so writing that was kind of interesting for me because I was kind of transitioning from doing rhyming verse about Marlin to then doing, almost like a research paper that, in layman's terms, basically.
And you can get the book, marlinbundobook.com, and that's a way to get a signed book if you want to go there now and sign up. But it is a great book for librarians or teachers to use because it does have that educational part in the back. And that was important. I've been an educator for 25 years, but Charlotte's actually the one who said, I want this to be educational.
Yeah, absolutely. Roxanne from Florida, we kind of touched on this, but asked, how long have you had bunnies? And we've had a lot of bunnies.
Yeah, I had bunnies a long time. Charlotte and I were laughing about this earlier because we were listing all the bunnies we had. But the reason is because, I was an elementary school teacher. Yeah, so I had him in the classroom. And it was a great thing to have a bunny, who was hopping around the classroom. And because bunnies can be trained and they go back in their cage when they need to and come back out. And, it was nice to have a bunny in the classroom. And certain kids, the bunny will just kind of go sit next to, and it was a very comforting thing. So we've actually had pets for a long, long time.
Yeah. Okay, Cameron from Missouri asked, what has your family done to make yourselves stronger and more loving of each other amidst the chaos of politics? I would say, I don't know. I would say maybe just, staying in touch a lot is something that we've always found to be really important, and always be talking to each other. I mean, I talk to my parents a couple times a day. I feel like I'm constantly talking to my sister and my brother and my sister-in-law. So I don't know. I think that our family is very close and very strong. So I think we've always been so good at communicating. So even when we all live all over the country and lots of stuff is going on, I don't know, it's just been...
And we have a couple of, group chats that are going all the time, and little apps where we'll post pictures and just a way to do some fun little things during the day. Like, oh, look what Audrey's doing today. Look what Michael and Sarah are doing today. And so I think that's something that we do. I think with our family, everybody lives all over the country, and nobody lives at the Naval Observatory with us. So for us, at this stage in our life, it's nice to be able to have that, ability to kind of stay in touch with social networking all the time now. Yeah. We may want to bring Marlon up for the tail end of this, too. Marlon, you want to come back up? He's kind of feeling neglected down there.
So if you're tuning in, again, you can go to marlinbundobook.com to sign up and get your signed copy, and we'll be here signing them. And you can submit questions when you order if you want, and we will answer for you. Oh, there he is.
Hey, sweetie. Want to come back up? Look at you. To see your fans? They're missing you.
It's very staticky.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Okay, yeah. Charlotte from South Dakota, great name, asked, what a wonderful idea. Would you two please do a series?
A series? Oh, that would be a lot of fun. We are not opposed to doing a series. That would be fun. Because it's been a great experience, really, doing this book. It's been just fun. It's kind of been the whole family's been involved. We'll send pictures and say, what do you think of this one? And for me, doing the illustrations especially, they take a lot of time and a lot of work, and it's really fun to be able to put them on, a Snapchat or something and send it out to everybody and say, what do you think of this one? And they're good at critiquing too, and saying, well, I think you need a little more shadow, or Marlon doesn't look quite, as
Adorable as he is.
as adorable as he is. And so it's kind of been a little bit of a collaborative affair, and that's why we wrote in the beginning of it, when we dedicated the book, we wanted to dedicate it to our family because they've been with us every step of the way.
Yeah. Okay, another question. Nancy from Ohio asked, is this the first book you've written and illustrated together? Yes.
Yes.
It is.
But Charlotte
it's
is
really
a
our
writer,
first
so
book.
she's, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know, growing up we were always doing, I mean, we've never published a book, but we were always doing a lot of arts projects at home all the time. Like I said before, I'm not nearly as artistically gifted as my mom, but it was always something that we did a lot in our house. I think we were always kind of creating and making things together.
And Charlotte started telling stories years and years and years ago. I mean, she was probably 4 or 5, and she shared a room with her sister. And so, frequently Audrey would say, tell me a story, Charlotte, as she's falling asleep. And Charlotte would make up these elaborate stories, and then she'd continue them the next night. And when she was little, she would line up all of her stuffed animals outside, and she would tell them stories. And she's just always been a storyteller. She's quite a writer. She's the one that, when we get a birthday card from her, she's the one who writes, a whole page on the side of the card, because she just is a writer, and it's what she does. So, and she's got a couple books, that she's written through college. She worked on some books. So, but this is the first one that we've actually published together.
Okay, so we have just a few more minutes. Again, it's marlinbundobook.com to pre-order your signed copy. The book is officially published tomorrow, which we're really excited about. And again, we're here in New York City, doing a lot of press, a lot of stuff with Marlon. So tune in to all of his press. Follow him on Instagram and me on Instagram, and I'll be posting whenever we're going to be doing interviews and doing events, because we're going to be doing a lot of them, which I'm really excited
for
about.
the next 2 weeks, we're going to be going all over.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can get another question in. Oh, Deborah from West Virginia. We already answered this question, but I just wanted to say, she said my son's bunny loved apple peels. Does your bunny have a favorite tree? And I did say earlier he likes cilantro. He also likes strawberries, I'm remembering. But apple peels, maybe we should try that.
We'll try that tonight, Marlon. You want to try some?
Okay. Daniel from North Carolina asked, oh, this is a good question. Who is the most influential person in your life? I like that. I like that question.
I don't have an answer right off the top of my head.
Most influential person. I don't know if there's a most influential person, but I mean, for me, I think my faith dictates a lot of the decisions that I make. But I would also say an influential people would definitely be my parents. Certainly role models for me, people that I really look up to and really respect. I'm not going to say Marlon, but I want to say Marlon a little bit. He's just looking right at me, giving me some side eye. But yeah, I would say, I mean, my parents are very influential. I probably go to them for everything, for any question I have about anything, really. Yeah, I don't know. I like that question a lot, though.
That's
Daniel.
a great question.
Great use. So, again, marlinbundobook.com is where you can order your signed copy. If you're not going to be able to make it to one of our events in person, we're going to be traveling all over the country and the coast.
Okay.
There you go.
You want to read it? Marlon wants to read it. Go ahead.
So,
go for it.
If you're as excited about this book as Marlon is, go to marlinbundobook.com, order a copy, and we'll sign it to you. And thank you for watching, and thank you for for being here with us. We loved answering these questions. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, there you go.
He's going crazy. And Marlon got to hang out too, which was really fun.